Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today we will discuss gas supplies. Large gases are mostly stored in the upright position, but some of them, as empty NOx, being stored in a horizontal position. They are stored indoors to avoid extreme heat and cool. Medical gases should be stored separately from inflammable gases, as cyclopropane. They are made of carbon steel, manganese steel, or aluminum alloy. They must stand high pressure, otherwise we will be exposed to explosion. If the cylinder is being dropped on a concrete, hardly it may cause an explosion. It is the standards of the cylinders are passing what we call the ISO R32 criteria, where oxygen is black with white top, nitrous is blue, cyclopropane is orange, and carbon dioxide is gray. But in the USA and other countries, we have different codes. Around the neck of the cylinder in the UK, we have a plastic disc. This plastic disc, where the last time the cylinder was examined is being written on it. And of course, we have labels on the cylinders to note the type of the cylinder. The cylinders undergo internal examination regularly with a scope, so that whenever we find something wrong in it, we discrete this cylinder. It has been done every 5 to 10 years. Of course, cylinders are liable to explosion whenever they are exposed to inflammable agents or oil, especially those which support combustion, as oxygen nitroxide gas. The actual value of the pressure, the working pressure, is 65 to 70% above its working pressure. So I noticed that oxygen is being sensitive to withstand a pressure of 210. We must open, first of all, the cylinder momentarily to blow out any dust. You see, after we attach the cylinder, of course, it's recommended to open slowly so that we will avoid adiabatic heating changes. We must open it to a full turn position, so prevent the restrict of flow. We ought to not much open it, otherwise it will cause damage of it. The cylinder is made of a spindle. This spindle goes upwards and downwards with and plastic end, which may be affected by too much tightening the spindle. It is supported on the other side by a nut and a gland nut to prevent the leak. And as you can see, the pin index system is being present on the diagram. Of course, this pin, the pin system is supported by holes on the yoke of the anesthetic apparatus. The difference between there is another type of definition of the system of connection apart from the pin index, is what we call the ball nose, which is present in oxygen cylinders and helium and nitrogen and air, and the other one is the external thread system, which is present in the nitrous oxide cylinder. As you can see, this is the external thread, and it is supported by a wheel, as you can see from the diagram, which is open and close the cylinder. On the other hand, the ball nose system has two types. We have a right hand thread or a left hand thread according to the inflammability of the cylinder. This diagram shows the different types of the cylinders, and we can see the pin index system and the disk where it present the UK, showing the last time where the cylinder were examined and the color. And this is the label showing the type of the cylinder. This is the cylinder valve. As you can see, we have the spindle and the plastic ending by a plastic part. This goes upwards and downwards by a wheel, of course, or a whatever knob. We must care not much to close it, otherwise this plastic component will be affected. And then this is supported by a gland and a gland nut. These two parts where it assures that there is no leak whenever the spindle is moving. And then we have the hole for the pin index system. Now we go to what we call pipes auction supplies. Of course, to avoid the frequent change of cylinders, we always use what we call a cylinder manifold or a liquid auction tank outside the theater for fear, of course, of risk of fire by auction. We can see from this system that the manifold, we have two banks. Each bank contains 3 cylinders, and they are controlled by a box in the middle where we have a shuttle valve. This shuttle valve opens and closes pneumatically, and it is held in the upper part position by a magnet. This shuttle valve shifts the flow from whenever this empty system is accomplished, it shifts to the one with enough gas to go to the patient. Of course, the system, first of all, as we know, the pressure is 135, 37, and then it goes to the system, the central box, where it's been shifted to 10 bar, and then finally it goes to the pipe system in the form of 4.1, as we know. Or instead of that, we can attach this system to the auction liquid system. This auction liquid system lasts for around 6 days, but each bank of these 3 cylinders stays for only 2 days. The interlock supply, it is a cylinder where we have a pre-mixed oxygen and nitrous oxide. Each of them is in a 50% value at a pressure of 137 bar. The most important thing that it must be at a temperature more than minus 5.5, as you can see. Otherwise, we will find that the separation will occur regarding the pseudocritical temperature, and we will form on the bottom a liquid stage where we have nitrous oxide and oxygen. Meanwhile, first of all, the oxygen on the top part will be released by time, and then it will be replaced from the lower one by oxygen whenever this gas is being finished. At the end result, we will finish the oxygen, and then we're leaving a mixture of a toxic gas, mixture of 80% nitrous oxide and 20% oxygen. So we ought to have in large cylinders what we call the dip tube. We'll show it later on. This dip tube assures of removing all liquid present in the cylinder to avoid what we may see whenever this temperature has been decreased beyond the limits. Of course, we must store the cylinders in a temperature at least 10 degrees Celsius. This is the ball nose, as we said before, and this is the right thread regarding oxygen, which is left threaded whenever we have inflammable gas cylinders. And this is the external thread of the nitrous oxide, and we have a wheel for the nitrous oxide cylinder. This is the banks, 3 at each bank. We call it the main fold, and this is the central box where we have a changeable valve, as we can see, which is pneumatically controlled and is held upwards by a magnet. It works whenever the cylinders on the left side is emptied. It shifts to the one on the right side. Of course, the pressure in it after a reducing valve is around 10 bar. Whenever it reaches to the pipe system, it reaches 4.1 bar. And this is the interlock cylinder, as you can see, where oxygen and nitrous have been formed below the level of oxygen whenever the pressure is below minus 5.5 degrees Celsius. Oxygen is being taken from the top of it and being replaced from the oxygen from the one present with nitrous oxide till the oxygen is being taken off, and then leaving only a combination at the end, which is of course hypoxic to the patient. We have after that talking about compressed air supplies. Of course, medical air can be used also in a form of main fold of cylinders in what we call a central compressed planet, a planet where we have a compressor. The compressor planet is made of course, it's most probably duplicated because whenever we have surfaces or repair, we must have another supply in case something happens. We have what we call a silencer into the compressor, so to listen the sound. At the compressor, it's being cooled and then going back to a valve into a large cylinder. So a compressor going to a large cylinder. We call it a reservoir with a constant pressure. After that is the air is being cleaned and separated by filters and dried, of course, most probably by silica gel. Of course, most compressor you must put in your mind are oil lubricated, which we can cause what we call the oil pneumonitis. So coarse droplets of oil ought to be beveled before going to the filters where it can be removed. Of course, as we said, the air must be dried by 2 dryers. Silica gel is being used. Reaching to a dew point, as we mentioned before in the hygrometers, reaching to minus 40 degrees Celsius to assure that the combination is completely free of water. The pressure of air is 8.9 bar, which is more than the one present in the oxygen pipe, which is 4.1. Why is very high? To assure it to be used whenever I want to use surgical tools. This is why the pressure is more than the oxygen pressure present in other types. The central vacuum system also is present in the compressed planet. You see, As we can see, we have also a pump of the suction, receiving, and we have a filter. We have, of course, the vacuum terminal present in the theater where we attach the vacuum system. We have bacterial filters. The suction goes to bacterial filters, and then it passes to a vacuum not less than 0.67 bar. So this is the vacuum pressure used mostly in the vacuum system. You ought to memorize this figure, 0.67 bar, which equals 500 millimeter mercury. We know that atmospheric pressure is 760, so it's below the atmospheric pressure. So at the last, the exhaust gases from the pump pass to a silencer before being discharged out of doors or by a scavenging system. So this is the most important thing to memorize, is the amount of pressure present in the central vacuum system. This vacuum system, of course, is attached to the suction apparatus we use in the theater, which is made of a diaphragm. And this diaphragm is, of course, is attached to a spring. And of course, there is an upwards knot to control the pressure, which is measured by a gauge, as we can see, to control the pressure used in such apparatus. Of course, we have what we call two floats. These two floats assures that whenever the pot is full, it will not go back obstruction the suction apparatus. Whenever the flow is most probably able to be held at 24 liters per minute in a vacuum greater than 0.67 bar. In such circumstances, we have a dangerous suction, which will be affecting a closed cavity structure. You must take care whenever you use it to aspirate a closed cavity to minimize or not to allow such thing to occur. The concentrator takes the air, and then it uses zeolite. Zeolite is a compound, silicate compound, perform what you call ion exchange properties, acting as a molecular sieve, separating, of course, the filtered oxygen, the filtered air oxygen from nitrogen, and then this also is present in some chromatographic columns. You see, of course, the taken air is being cooled first of all and dried by silicon gel. It has a solenoid valve. We will show it on this solenoid valve. Operates every half a minute, shift the direction of the flow, as we'll see in the following figure. And then we have what we call the small oxygen concentrator we used at home, where it gives the patient 90 to 95% of oxygen at a flow of 5 liters per minute. The running cost, of course, is electricity and servicing. It contains 5% argon, which is not toxic. It disadvantage that whenever we take a much high flow than the 4 liters, it will affect the concentration. On the other hand, this small oxygen tank works about at a pressure of 70 kilopascal, which will not work a ventilator. However, in large hospitals where we have larger tanks, they can operate ventilator and Venturi apparatus used. This is the compressor planet, as we can see. We have a compressor for cooling, as we can see, and then it goes to a reservoir. And then this reservoir lessens the work of the pump for a time being. It does not make the pump continuously work. And then after that, we go to a separator, filters, and dryer, where we end by the compressor air support. And this is the suction system, or I'm sorry, the vacuum system present in this the compressed planet, where the drain there is drained and there are filters, and there is also a reservoir, a suction pump, and then we have an exhaust. And this is the suction apparatus, where we have the diaphragm and the spring and the knob controlling the pressure. And then we have the two floats. This two floats assures that whenever this cooler jar is being full, it will not affect the system. It will close the system. And this is the functioning of the the apparatus, which concentrates the oxygen from air. Where the air is being taken up, prevented from the dust and such things, and that goes to a filter and a compressor and a cooler, and then goes to the two cylinders. As we see, these two cylinders are shifted every half a minute by solenoid valve, to assure that the oxygen is being taken from the nitrogen and water vapor going to a reservoir to the patient, and the other components are be taken by a vacuum pump to the waste gas. So this is why it's been shifted to give a part to the reservoir, and the other, whenever it's shifted, goes to the pump where it's being exhausted as a waste gas. This we will show with the Schrader valve, and we have the collar. The collar, this is system to assure that each of the system is being attached to the proper outlet. As we can see, there is a special valve. Whenever this valve is being, whenever I remove this collar from this external part, this valve closed by itself. This is Schrader system present in England. Of course, the leaks which can occur during anesthetizing patient, of course, can cause pollution in the theater, and it can lessen the amount of carrier gas of oxygen going to the patient. Of course, whenever we have the pin index system, it may be caused whenever there is a leak by the fault in the non-return valve, or what we call the robotic seal is being damaged. Of course, whenever we switch the supply to the patient from oxygen accidentally by the personnel to nitric oxide, of course, we'll find that there is an abrupt decrease in oxygen tension and alveolar tension within from 5 to 10 seconds, which is very dangerous, which is more than even the patient with obstructive respiratory obstruction, because respiratory obstruction, we have a reserve of oxygen, so we not have an abrupt decrease in oxygen like the one which may occur whenever we shift the cylinders from oxygen to nitrous oxide. Of course, the pipe system are being every now and then undergoing pressurizing and alternating. We use medical gas to assure that there is no leak. So we apply medical gas under pressure for 24 hours to assure that there is no leak in the system. And whenever there are bad particles present in the system, they are being burgeoning out, because you know that whenever we rejoin the pipe system, and whenever we want to repair by flame, of course this can induce particles which must be removed by burgeoning. And of course we use carbon dioxide whenever we use heat to lessen the oxidation while the pipe is heated. And of course, at the end result, we must remove the impurities such as water and oil, carbon monoxide from the system after repairing this pipe system. This is a screwing method connecting to decrease the incidence of separating, and this is a graph showing the abrupt decrease in the oxygen the tension and the alveolar oxygen tension whenever we shift accidentally by personnel from a nitric oxide to oxygen. We find it is an abrupt decrease in the tension within from 5 to 10 seconds, as we can see. And these are two types of the system apart from the pinned index, the ball nose and the other external thread. And this is the compressor planet, where we have an oxygen concentrator and a suction system. All these are based on a compressor which induces cooling, and then we have filters, and we have a dryer, and then we have a reservoir to minimize the work of the pump. And this is the main fold system, where we have two banks, each contains 3 cylinders. I hope that I succeeded. Sorry for my mistakes. We will be ending the course by the last chapter regarding the external connectors to the anesthetics apparatus, which we call it circuits, and which will be the last point discussing this Barber's book. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.